Hi guys, welcome back with another message with Mrs. Carly Holly. So come with me. So I'm driving to the gym and I just want to talk with you guys while I'm driving to the gym. I mean, why not, right? So anyways, I am going to actually say the same message that I said yesterday, that I reloaded. I'm sorry, not yesterday, but I reloaded this message, and somehow YouTube, I don't know if it's the algorithm, but they're like making my videos not being able to be seen. So I'm just gonna remake this message that I put for this video. It was actually a pictures of like flowers, of lavender flowers. So this video will be very simple. It's basically about how God will bring your destiny helpers in your life, how he will plant them in your life. And before, I didn't know that my destiny helper was in my life already. And I say this to say is that when you find yourself not wanting to be taught by somebody, or when you find yourself resisting going on this person's videos, going on this person's messages, like when you're resisting it, or when you feel some type of resistance, feel like you don't want to be taught by that person and you rather be taught by somebody else, the other person that you're rejecting on being taught by is probably your destiny helper. I shared my story about how I was doing flower deliveries. I was able to be on YouTube all day. I would literally sit here and watch so many videos, podcasts, motivational speakers, and all this. Now, I'm not going to say the name of these leaders, because I just want to, give them that privacy. So at the time, I remember stumbling on these two different women. The first woman, I was watching her videos because she's associated with another teacher that I was listening from. She was associated with another speaker that I was watching I was watching their videos all the time. So she was kind of associated with that person. So I was beginning to watch her videos. I remember I was watching her videos, while I'm delivering flowers to hospitals and stuff. And I remember the videos I was watching of her. And for some reason, I stopped watching her videos. I'm not sure why, but I just kind of went away from watching her videos. And it could have been distraction. It could have been me being distracted by other speakers or whatever it may be, or life circumstances. I'm not sure. But the other lady, now she was planted in my life as well. I would say the same time, literally, as I'm doing flower deliveries. Now this other lady, I was watching her videos and I felt like I was more relatable towards her. But the thing is, she was already giving me the spirit of confusion from the beginning. Okay? Now, I would just like to tell you that, especially if you're beginning your walk with Christ, the person that God has for you, your destiny helper, is not going to bring confusion in your life. Okay? They're going to be the most stable person in your life. You're going to know them by their fruits. You're going to know that they're from the kingdom of light and from the kingdom of darkness. Anything that is from the kingdom of darkness will simply just be very confusing. Okay? Their spirit, the spirit that you will feed off from them, will be very confusing. If I'm, okay, let me give you a great example. From this lady, the second lady, I started watching her videos, even though I was more she was more relatable in a way. I remember she was doing her meditation videos in the beginning, and she would have this instrument. And I know that instrument very well because when I was doing witchcraft, I was practicing New Age. Before I came completely into Christ, I was practicing New Age. And I remember at the mall, I went into the shop. Okay, so I got cut off from the video. I'm not sure where I stopped, but okay, so when I was practicing New Age, the leader, this lady that I knew, she was kind of, I don't know if it was lukewarm, but it was kind of confusing. And I would say that she was more relatable, because if you don't know about familiar spirits, you will see while you're kind of going for one person, and you see why your spirit kind of is. Okay, if you dig a deep dive into familiar spirits and why things or people become familiar to you, it's because most likely you have a familiar spirit. I didn't know what I knew now, but I know that this lady had a familiar spirit. That's why I was watching her videos a little bit more, and that's why I felt a sense of relatability. That's why I felt like this lady was more relatable to me because of a familiar spirit. So she was practicing New Age, because I know that the instrument she was using, I know that instrument very well, because when I would go to the mall, and in the beginning of my walk with Christ, sort of, I was just looking for something to worship, if that makes sense. So I was like kind of thinking, like literally shopping around, like, I was born into Christ, but I felt apart. I felt away from it. I was kind of like, kind of curious as to looking for a God to worship. I really wanted to build my spiritual life. So I remember going into the store, and it was kind of like a spiritual store, and they had a lot of incense, a lot of essential oils, and a lot of crystals and all that crap. So it was basically New Age. So they had all that stuff. And I remember this lady, the same lady that I was watching her videos, I know the instrument she was using for her meditation videos. I know that she was using this instrument because I seen that same instrument at the store. It's like some type of instrument that you bang on it, and it brings like this noise, and it vibrates like a frequency or something like that. It vibrates throughout your whole atmosphere. So I already had a feeling that it was kind of New Age kind of type of stuff, because I remember at the time I was like, I brought the same instrument, and I would use it for meditation. But at this time, while I was delivering flowers, I already was going to a church and everything. I already knew about Christ. I got back in Christ. But I was just watching her videos because the wisdom she would speak would be so amazing. Satan will give his followers wisdom. And you think like, wow, you'll be amazed, and you'll admire this person and start putting them on a pedestal because of what they're saying, not realizing that you're idolizing this person. So she had a gift of wisdom. Like anything she would say would just make total complete sense. And until this day, she just knows how to speak. She knows how to speak very well. She has the gift of wisdom. But anyways, so that's what drew me in. So I was on and off on her videos, but at the circumstance that I was in at my life, I was struggling with the roommates that I was living with. I just felt more towards this leader as far as the other leader, because this one was more relatable, and I felt like I needed her messages more in my life than the other ladies, not realizing that when God plants your destiny helper, they may not be the most, they may not have the most like exact thing to say, and you're not going to be completely amazed by them. They're not going to be very seductive in the spirit. And a lot of false prophets, what they say is very seductive. It's like a snake. You're so attracted to it, and it's so wise, and these prophets are so wise, not knowing that they're seducing you in the spirit. They're literally seducing you with what they're saying. So that's how this lady came into my life. So next thing you know, she wasn't putting out a lot of videos on YouTube. So I kind of strayed away from her a little bit and kept my focus on Christ. So recently, I would say a couple of months, I dig really deep into her. I dig really deep into her teachings and into her business. So I'm posting this lady all over my social media, more than I post me. I'm literally promoting and advertising this woman more than I'm advertising myself. And the company where I was selling teas at, it is not her company. And I know that when you go and watch my other videos, if you go a little towards my older videos, I was selling teas and stuff, and the products that I was using, which really worked, and it helped me in my fitness journey. But then I realized that it is not her company at all whatsoever, but she was like the major brand ambassador of the company. She was the face of the company, basically. So she would get people to sign under her, or get people to go out there and sell this and sell that, and she would help people lose weight, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then again, I just felt like I was diving deep into her because of the money. I was really trying to find ways that I can become wealthy, how I can make money, how I can start my own business. And instead of seeking after God, I kind of was just flowing with her. So early in the morning, she would have these meditation groups, and I would just go and sign in. And then I'm signing into her meditations and this affirmation, and it's making me feel good. It's making me motivated. It's making me feel like I should go out there and hustle. And, she would have these conferences with other people who are also motivational speakers, and they are great in sales. They're great in their field. And it was just very energizing to be in that atmosphere, to be in the same room as other millionaires or as other successful people. So then eventually, I don't know what happened, but I felt led in my spirit to back away from it, because when I'm in the same group as these people, I felt a sense of fakeness. I felt like okay, this is the perfect example. The way the enemy wants you to feel, he comes as light. He comes and imitates God's light. So that's how he comes, like a wolf in sheep clothing, like a wolf in sheep's clothing. So he would come and imitate as the spirit of lightness. Like he would come like loving, and that's how people get strayed away, and that's how people get deceived, because he will come loving, like his the people that work for the kingdom of darkness, they will come like the spiritual beings. Like they will come like, and you feel all love and peace and beautiful and all this goodness and stuff. You will feel hopeful. But as you dig deeper, as you dive a little bit deeper, that's when their faces really starts to show. That's when their mask starts being removed, and you start really seeing who they really are. So in this atmosphere, the last event I went to, basically I just felt in my spirit, like I felt the opposite of love. I felt like in the beginning it's love, and it's like, oh, you're loved here, you belong here. But then when you go deeper, it's not really love. It's more of a fakeness. I just felt fake. I just felt like this is false. This is not the real deal. This is not godly. So, and my husband, he wasn't really on board with this company either, with this business and with this venture. He was like, you lost sight of God and you're focused more on money. And I'm like, well, yeah, and I just kept making excuses, and he was right all along. So he advised me to take a break, in which I did. Because every time I would go to these gatherings, I would feel a sense of energy being taken away from me. I will feel so like helpless, so weak. And I'm like, why am I so like weak and so helpless and so like depressed after these gatherings, after these events? And it was just weird, because I felt okay, because I'm not a big social person, but I've been to events before and gatherings before, and I never felt this way. If you find yourself going somewhere or being around a particular person and you feel drained and you feel sad all of a sudden and depressed, be careful, okay? Because that is a big warning sign. That is a big red flag. And I'm just going to keep it at that. I don't want to dive too deep into that. But I took a break, and as I took my break, boom, God is literally bringing me back to him. My focus started being back on God, and that's why I started my video on Back to Jesus. My very first video of me being on a break for like 2 months. I was promoting back to Jesus, because again, this lady was practicing New Age, but I felt more relatable to her because of the familiar spirit that I had. I was familiar with her. The familiar spirit that was in me was relating to her, because she was practicing New Age. And at the time, I came from New Age. And that's why God always warns us, don't go back to your vomit. So that's me basically going back to my vomit. And I just saw a lot of red flags, as in her meditation recently. I already felt like very convicted of going to her meditations, but I kept giving her the benefit of the doubt and giving the women's group a benefit of the doubt, because again, this is a women's group and I never really been in a women's group like this before. So the last meeting I went to, the last meditation I went to, I joined the meditation group. And I was like, okay, let me give this a try again. So I went on the group, and then Give me a second. So I went on the group, and then the lady, she was talking about how someone died. Okay, in this group, there's a lot of people there were like 2 women that did suicide in this group. So that was kind of, that just kind of threw me off. If people are committing suicide and they're joined to this group, that was just kind of weird to me. But anyways, and that wasn't only the red flag, but it was another red flag. They were saying, oh, you are both male and female. Like, what? We are not both. I'm not both male and female. I'm a female. I know some females, as females, we have a little bit masculine energy. And I get where you're coming from, but you would want to promote a woman using her femininity more than using her masculinity, and you can't help it. If we work at a job, that's masculine energy being used, but we just know that when it's time to come home to our spouses, we just got to know how to flip that switch off. Now, I'm not sure if they were talking about masculinity and femininity and all that, but the way they were saying it, they were saying we are both male and female. And I remember Nick Jones, he's also a big time YouTuber, and I was watching one of his videos about what he was saying about Alicia Keys. She said the same thing. We're both female and male. And that's another red flag. And it's so funny because he recently made another video about her throwing up the Baphomet sign. Him and another guy, Abednego, I think. So it was already warnings. That is satanic, by the way. We are not both male and female. That's already bringing confusion into the kingdom of light. You're already confusing people talking about we're both male and female. So that was a big time red flag. And the other red flag is that she was like, because of these people are dying, she was like, well, they're going to, I don't remember the way she said it. But she was basically talking about how we get another life, or how we, reincarnation type of thing, I believe. And that was I think that was the last red flag for me, because I believe that people go to heaven or people go to hell. You know what I mean? And when you commit suicide, you kind of, God already said that you're going to hell, but you're committing suicide. That's basically the one pass ticket to go straight to hell. And I just believe in heaven or hell. And it was just adding another set of confusion on top of that. And I remember this young lady who was talking about she was doing tarot cards right on camera. And then the coach was like, oh, I know some of you ladies are going to say it's not of God, but, she was just making excuses on why tarot readings being used. She was promoting it, but she was making excuses, and she was talking about, oh, God this, God that. I don't really have to say God to be about God. It was just a lot of confusion and a lot of lukewarmness and a lot of witchcraft, new age things that was going on in the group. So I totally exited myself off. And then now I'm rejoined to another lady. I was watching videos before. I was years ago, while I was doing flower deliveries, I started rejoining myself to this other particular lady, and I felt like she's more godly, and I felt like she's the destiny helper that God wants me to collab with. She's the destiny helper that God wants me to join with. And it's so funny because I went to this lady because she was relatable, not knowing that this lady is the one that God has for me, not knowing that this is the destiny helper that God planted in my life years ago. But I decided to, of course the enemy wants to throw you off and make you go the other way. And what I noticed too is that the enemy will mock everything God, and he will pervert it and make it more admirable, make it more, I don't know how to say this, make it more tempting. He will, say God will do a plain vanilla cake. The enemy will take that same vanilla cake and add some sprinkles to it. You know what I'm saying? Add some caramel to it to make it look more advertising, to make it look more tasty or whatever it may be. But as you start eating that cake, you're realizing that it's not of God. It is not a God cake. This is a counterfeit cake, So that was a counterfeit. So that's when, after I took that break and I got out of that company and I got out of that putting that leader on a pedestal, and now I'm back focused on God, and I'm sending out my messages. I'm praying and asking God for help and making sure that, God, he knows your goals, he knows your goals, he knows your wants. So all you have to do is pray to him, and he will redirect you. And that's what the Lord did to me. He redirected my path, and now I'm signed under another coach who, she is more godly. She talks about business and spirituality. She stands on kingdom business, and that's the best thing you have to do. Okay, you have to follow someone who stands on kingdom business. Okay, who doesn't compromise their messages, who doesn't compromise their faith just because of some dollar signs. So God will plant your destiny helpers in your life. Just take a closer look and see if you feel like you don't have a destiny helper just yet. Just take a closer look and make sure that you didn't just write somebody off just because they're not as relatable as you want them to be, or they're too good. They are too goody two shoes, or they're too, they just don't compromise. You probably write those leaders off, or write that person off because they would not compromise their faith, and you went with somebody who compromised their faith instead. So God will plant destiny helpers in your life. You think that you don't have destiny helpers in your life, but look closely, okay? Who videos that you were watching years ago, and you just stopped watching their videos because you felt like you were not relating to them, okay? So God will plant destiny helpers in your life. And if he hasn't planted destiny helpers in your life, just go and ask God to bring that destiny helper in your life to help you on your mission, to help you complete your assignment, to help guide you, okay? Because God does have helpers out there who can help you in the physical world too, as much as in the spiritual. So with this lady, she stands on kingdom business. She prays, she fasts, and God is using her. And it took me a while to really see that this is a godly woman, because after all these years, she didn't die off. She stayed consistent. She persevered, and she's standing on kingdom business. She still stands on her faith until this day. So we have to be careful with the counterfeits. There is a lot of counterfeits out there. There is a lot of false prophets out there. So be very wise, use your discernment, and be very careful. Well, I am here at the gym. I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching Queens of God Ministry, and my name is Mrs. Carly Holly. I will see you guys on the next one.